For this week, we will discuss about Module 11 Abstract Classes. So for our introduction, let's think again about our employee class. So imagine that our business expands and we will now employ full-time employees as well as part-time employees. So a full-time employee object, rather than having an hourly pay or rate of pay, will have an annual salary. And then it might also need a method that calculates the monthly pay by dividing the annual salary by 12. Okay, so it's just like the improvement for our previous examples of employee class. So this time we will have a full-time employees. Okay, so in our diagram or UML diagram, as you can see here, we now have a full-time employee class with this properties. So annual salary, so that is double, and then it has a method for full-time, or this is a constructor full-time employee with string and double parameters, and then the set annual salary function, get annual salary function, and also the calculate monthly pay function. Okay, and then again the part-time employee is just the same implementation. So this part-time or full-time employee is a child class of the employee class. So based on our image, an inheritance relationship showing the superclass employee and the subclasses full-time employee and part-time employee. So meaning to say this properties of employee will also be accessible to full-time and part-time employee. So even if we don't write this code to our subclasses or child classes, it would still be able to access this methods. Okay, so the image shows the structure of an employee hierarchy with the two types of employee, the full-time and the part-time employee. So notice how the subclasses contain the attributes and methods appropriate to the class. Okay, and then if you think about this a bit more, it will occur to you that any employee will always be either a full-time employee or a part-time employee. So there's never going to be a situation in which an individual is just a plain old employee. So meaning to say class, since employee is just a normal class, full-time employee is a normal class, part-time employee is also a normal class, we want to lessen the possibility that a user could create an object with an employee data type. So meaning to say we want to register in an employee with only a category of full-time employee or part-time employee. Because in this case, as you can see here in our diagram, the user could still create an object of employee class, though we all know that we want the user or the employee to be only full-time or part-time. So these are only the choices that we could do in choosing an employee or type of employee in our whole system. So I mean to say we don't want to use this employee class here, or to avoid creating an object of employee class. So it's just a plain employee or old employee. So users of a program that included all these classes would never find themselves creating objects of the employee class. Just like what I've said a while ago, we want to prevent the users from creating an employee class object. We want to only create an object for full-time employee or part-time employee. Okay, so in fact it would be a good idea to prevent people from doing this, and as you might have guessed, there's a way to do so, which is to declare the class as abstract. So once a class has been declared in this way, it means that you're not allowed to create objects of that class. So in order to make our employee class abstract, all we have to do is to place the keyword abstract in the header. So just like this, public class or public abstract class employee. The employee class simply acts as a basis on which to build other classes. And then now if you try to create an object of the employee class, you would get a compiler error. Okay, so we have already seen the code for employee and part-time employee. So this time, here's the code for full-time employee. So you could try it on your electronic devices and then run it as a whole program. So as we said before, an interface or inheritance relationship is often referred to as an is a kind of relationship. So a full-time employee is a kind of employee. So as you can see here, the full-time employee extends the employee class. I mean to say, full-time employee is a kind of employee class. It belongs to the family of employee, or it's a type of employee. Okay. Therefore, an object that is of type part-time employee is also a type of employee. An object is the type of its class and also of any of the superclasses in the hierarchy. So let's see how this relationship works in a Java program. So imagine a method in which is set up to receive an employee object. So if we call that method and send in a full-time employee object or a part-time employee object, either is absolute fine because both are kinds of employee. Okay, so if we want to register a new type of employee, so that would fall under full-time employee or a part-time employee, not just a plain employee. Okay, so we demonstrate this in the program that follows. So we have the employee tester here, and then we created a full-time employee FTE. So this is the object FTE for full-time, and then for part-time it's PTE. So we submitted or fill out the parameters for the constructor, and then we have the test method. So the test method implementation goes like this. So we have the employee in, I think ln or in, forgot the letter, and then system.out.println employee ln.getName. Okay. So in the main method, we create two objects, one full-time employee and one part-time employee. So for the full-time employee, we call the method or test method twice. First with the full-time employee object and then with the part-time employee object. So this is the test method that would print the details of the employee for full-time. And then another one is the test method that would be called for the part-time employee object. So the method accepts either object and calls the getName method, and then the output is as expected, Miss Full-time and Mr. Part-time. Okay. So that's it for our abstract classes. So if you have any more questions, you may ask it through Classroom or through Messenger. So that's all for now. Thank you and God bless.